Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Qualiverse. Today we'll be speaking about EDID. Buying a car can be challenging, right? Due to all the different decisions that are required. You have to make the big decisions such as size, type, electric, hybrid, or gas fueled. Then there are the medium decisions like manufacturer, model, color. Then there are the seemingly endless minor decisions. Should I get keyless entry? Should I get remote start? Do I need the heated seats? Should I go for the extra entertainment system? The minor decisions don't necessarily impact the major functions of a car, but they certainly impact your experience as a driver or a passenger, right? You can take the family down to Disney in the family truckster, but having that entertainment system for the kiddos makes the ride so much more tolerable for everyone. Trust me on this. Many people geek out on all these little details. They don't impact how well the car drives or the fuel efficiency or safety necessarily, but they are still very important facets of the car as a whole. You certainly wouldn't ignore them when buying a car or leave it up to the car dealer to pick which ones are included with your car. They are a minor but still very significant aspect of that purchase. And in my humble opinion, having an EDID prescription or solution for an AV system is the heated seats decision of buying a car. Will the car work without heated seats? Obviously. But on early, cold, wintry mornings, are heated seats a gift from God? Most definitely. And would I leave that decision of whether or not to include heated seats in my car up to the dealer? You done lost your mind, friend. So EDID, what are we talking about? It's extended display identification data. These are metadata formats for video destinations to describe their capabilities to video sources, and then the sources then use that metadata to determine the optimal video signal outputs for those destinations. Wait, what? So essentially, EDID information allows displays or what other video syncs or destinations to let the sources know what video signals they can handle. EDID includes information about supported resolutions, preferred resolutions, supported audio formats, content protection, color space information, all that good stuff. When a source is connected to a destination, it goes something like this. Hey buddy, I'm a source. What types of video signals can you handle? What up, homie? I'm a destination. I can do all these different types of formats, but this one right here is my favorite. Do any of these work for you? I picked this one. I know it's not your favorite, but it's on your list. Is that okay? Fine, I'll make it work. Here you go, buddy. And then I'll send you that video signal. It should work with the destination and scene. I spent a lot of time on that. So EDID is essentially a video signal negotiation that happens between sources and syncs in the video chain. It sounds easy enough, right? Well, it's not quite that simple. When a laptop is connected to a desktop monitor, it usually works out pretty well. It's one-to-one, it's one negotiation. It can be done. But in a large, complicated system, that video signal negotiation can go sideways very quickly. EDID can be managed at several different locations in a system, such as video transmitters, video scalers, or matrix switchers. If the EDID is configured to only allow certain signals, some might not be supported by the sources in the system, which may prevent the video signal from being passed at all. Or if the EDID negotiation is set to auto, which, if I'm being honest, the vast majority of systems are unfortunately just set to auto, that setting, while it may successfully pass a video signal through the system, it might not be the signal that the users want or prefer. So let's talk about some examples. Common example is whether or not to allow protected content like movies, like TV tuners, so HDCP sources in the system. Mac laptops are notorious for enabling HDCP even though they're not outputting protected content. So if you just enable it, right, it makes sense. On one side, enabling it allows any content to pass through the system, which is great. It gives the user the ability to view whatever they want, anytime they want in the system, and it's fine. But on the other hand, HDCP sources are not permitted to pass video to things like recorders and codecs, right? That's how they protect that content. So enabling HDCP on system inputs could cause a situation where the laptop may show up on the display, which is HDCP compliant, but it's not shared to the far end of a video call, which is not HDCP compliant. And now you're left with confused users. How come I've got this source up on the display, but I'm not seeing it at the far end? I paid all this money for this system. I don't know what's going on. Now, it's confused users, and that's going to affect their trust in the system, their opinion of the system. But fixing that, it's typically easy enough. Either we disable HDCP on the input so that it works with everything in the system, including the conferencing equipment, or if we need to play protected content on that input, we just prevent that input from ever being able to be routed to the far end, right? We do that through the control system. So regardless, it doesn't matter. It's a very important aspect of the system, and it should not be guessed at by the installation crew. Another very common example is projector image aspect ratios, or the shape of the image. Most LCD displays, we hear it all the time, is 16:9, right? We see those aspect ratios. The resolutions are like 1080p, UHD, 4K. It's 16 wide by 9 tall. And on the other side, many projectors have a 16:10 aspect ratio, like 1920 by 1200. And so for the same width, that's going to mean it's slightly taller. It's got slightly more vertical pixels in the image. And so most laptop sources will support both 16:9 and 16:10 formats. And so this is the problem, right? If you have a system that has multiple types of displays, like a 16:10 projector and a 16:9 confidence monitor, and maybe some 16:9 displays as overflow monitors, which one should take the priority? Should the priority be for the displays, or should it be for the projector? The projector may be the main display, but you have a lot more, other 16:9 displays in the system. So if the projector is the priority and the system EDID prioritizes 16:10 aspect ratios for laptop inputs, the sources on the LCD screens may appear squished, right? Because we're telling the sources to send nice, tall 16:10 video, but now we've got to squash it into a 16:9 LCD screen, or maybe we just cut it off. I don't know. Do we squish it? Do we maintain the geometry? But on the flip side, what if we prioritize 16:9 sources? Now we're sending slightly shorter, slightly less information. The sources will look great on the LCD screen, but when we put it on the projector, what should it look like? If we maintain a 1-to-1 pixel, right? If we maintain the geometry, so a circle looks like a circle instead of being stretched out and becomes an oval, well, what do we do? Do we change the geometry? Do we kind of stretch the image out so everyone looks a little taller, a little thinner? That could be good. Or do we maintain the geometry so circles are circles, but now we're not filling an image? And now we might freak out some clients, right? They paid all this money for a nice large projector screen, and we're not using all of it. And so what is the best answer? Again, I don't know. This is pretty important, and it requires input from the client. It should be part of the design package. It should be conversation that's held with the client so that they're aware of what they're getting. It definitely should not be left to chance. And so to add to this example, let's say we decided, you know what, displays 16:9, everything just, it feels better. It feels better in 16:9, but we have a 16:10 projector. And so now what do we do with the screen? Do we get a 16:10 screen to match the projector? But now the 16:9 image might not fill it, or it might need to be stretched and look funny. Or do I get a 16:9 screen? Now that should work, right? Because we've prioritized 16:9 resolutions in the sources, and we can set the projector to 16:9 mode. The problem is when a 16:10 projector, where we've got that extra information on the top and the bottom, is projecting in 16:9 mode, it's projecting some black pixels on the top and the bottom of the image, which you might think that's great. Who cares about black pixels? But in front projection systems, black pixels are still lit by the projector. So it'll be a very faint light, or it'll look like part of the image. And now, will people think that those extra black pixels at the top and the bottom is a mistake? Is it like the image is overflowing onto the screen? Even though that's where the image stops, you still have those black pixels being projected by the 1610 projector. Again, I don't know the best answer. And no one said this easy stuff was easy, but that's why we can't skip it in our designs. Probably the most iconic EDID conversation stems around which resolution should be supported by the system. If you ask many users what the preferred resolution of their system should be, they say 4K. I mean, obviously got to be 4K. And don't get me wrong, 4K images look incredible from 18 inches away while I'm sitting at my desk. I mean, they look fantastic. I can see everything. I can see so many different things on the screen. It's awesome. But in a boardroom, from the head of the table that's maybe 25 feet away, the text is pretty small. And I've seen I've seen several users that are forced to move from the head of the table up to the front just so they can see the mouse cursor, much less the text that they're entering at the system computer. So that begs the question, right? Would it be better, instead of shooting for that nice sexy 4K resolution, do we limit it to 1080p? Why would we do that? Because now a 1080p image, the text is going to be twice as big. That's a big difference. Or do I dare say 720p, where now the text is literally 3 times as big as a 4K image? I don't know. Or will the users be presenting material that require the full 2160 by 3840 pixels, like medical images or maps or engineering drawings, or I don't know, other high resolution content? My preference, if I'm being honest, because I come from that conference room mentality, is to typically recommend 720p purely for readability. Now, if someone says they need the high resolution, that's a different conversation. But I want people to be able to read Excel spreadsheets. I want them to read documents. I want them to be able to read web pages that they're pulled up. And the best resolution for readability in these spaces is 720p. So that's where I might open up with my recommended preferred resolution for the EDID plan. It's going to be a conversation. The client could push back saying, no, we need these high resolutions, and that's fine. But for readability, if people are concerned with seeing and comprehending text on the screen without being fatigued, maybe we go 720p. I don't know. Either way, this is too important a decision to make on my own. Again, the client must be brought into the conversation, and the EDID solution must be part of the design package. In my auditing and design review experience, the EDID solution for the system is very often overlooked or just ignored completely. Some might say, instead of many designers providing the EDID prescription, they simply don't. See what I did there with it? So they EDID and then they don't. And anyway, hopefully you can see how important it is to the final outcome of the system. The client should be included in the conversation about what the image will look like on all displays in the system, what the preferred resolution of the system should be, what the screen in the system will look like, what the image will look like, if it will maintain the geometry, if it'll be stretched a little bit, if it's okay to leave some black areas on the top and the bottom of the screen. It's got to be a conversation that's had with the client so they're aware of what they're getting. Could a technician get a system to work without an EDID plan in the design? Yeah, probably. Would the system behave exactly how the users want or how the designer intended? Probably not. Right? Having an EDID plan may not impede the functionality of the system, but it will definitely have a large impact on its performance. And similarly, there may be a car out there that absolutely just purrs, right? It jumps from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. It has an absolutely baller entertainment system. But I'll tell you what, at 6 a.m. on a below freezing morning in January, all that stuff matters way less than having those heated seats. It's the same with EDID. I may be able to present, I may be able to collaborate and to be heard clearly, but if the users on the screen look a little shorter and a little fatter than they do in real life, it may not be considered a successful system. Take the time to communicate exactly how the system should behave during the design phase. Be an EDID designer, not an E-don't. I couldn't help myself. I had to get one more in. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this Qualiverse episode on EDID. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Please reach out with any questions and have an AV day.